If you are thinking about buying a home in Kansas City, you had better watch this video, because if you don't, you may be making a big mistake. While many areas in the Kansas City housing market are booming, there are a few areas that are not appreciating like the rest of Kansas City. This is the top 10 areas where prices have dropped in the Kansas City metro area in 2025. Number 10 is Holt. Holt, Missouri is a small town in the northeast corner of the Kansas City metro. It's an ideal community for people who want a slower, more rural lifestyle. It's near areas like Liberty, Kearney, Excelsior Springs, and Lawson. So I've recently had clients retire to Holt, bought 30 plus acres out there, and are very, very happy. But hey, the numbers don't lie. Holt in quarter 2 of 2025 has dropped quite a bit from quarter 1 of 2024. Again, that doesn't change the amenities that you get up in Holt, the slow pace of life, the rural lifestyle, all of those things. But I have to tell you that the median price point of a home in Holt went from $438,000 in quarter 2 of 2024 to $411,000 in quarter 2 of 2025. That's a decrease of 6%. While the median price point did climb from $420,000 to $435,000, that increase is not enough to offset the loss of potentially buying a home in 2024 and selling it in 2025. Now, let me explain. Let me give you a powerful example. Let's just say you moved to Kansas City in 2024 and you bought a home in Holt for the median price point of $420,000. And then all of a sudden your life changed and you need to move out of Holt, and you call me again to sell your home for $435,000. Well, you might think that's an increase of $15,000, and that's wonderful, but look, there's a lot of fees that you incur in selling a home. So put it this way: if you bought a home for $420,000 in 2024 and you sold it on the market for $435,000 in 2025, after all is said and done, you might lose around $11,000 in your investment. That is why you are going to want to make sure to watch this entire list, because the number 1 area decreased about 25%, which is crazy. And also, if you are looking to buy or sell a home in the Kansas City metro area, give us and our team a call. 816-4-MOVE-KC is the fastest way to get a hold of us. 816-4-MOVE-KC. Call us, text us. Our email is on the screen right now. We have put out helpful videos like this to help you relocate or move within the Kansas City metro. 816-4-MOVE-KC. Now, number 9 area is a rural area similar to Holt. It's called Lone Jack, also in Missouri. The only difference between Lone Jack and Holt is that Holt is in Clay County, which, if you wait until later, we're going to talk a little bit about Clay County, and Lone Jack is located in an area called Jackson County. There are 6 major counties in the Kansas City metro, and we're going to talk about a lot of them in this video. But Holt is located in Clay, Lone Jack is in Jackson. Otherwise, Holt and Lone Jack are pretty much interchangeable. The median price in Lone Jack basically stayed still. It's the same. But remember, with the cost of buying and selling real estate, that means if you bought last year and sold this year, you would lose money. The average went down about 4% from $471,000 for a home in Lone Jack all the way down to $452,000. That's a 4% decrease. And now here's the shocking thing. The days on market for a home in Lone Jack went from 6 days to 41 days. Now let me explain this to you so that you can understand it. Days on market is a strong indication of the desirability of a certain area. Now let's picture this. If a home hits the market on Monday and it goes off the market and takes a contract on Tuesday, that is 1 day on the market. So you can see the faster a home goes off the market, the more desirable of an area that home is located in. It could be a lot of different things. It mostly is the area, but there's also factors like how nice the home is finished, how well the home is maintained, decor. All of those things do play a factor, but the number 1 thing in real estate is location, location, location. And so when a home goes off the market really quickly, you can know that it's in a desirable location with a ton of buyers in that location. So again, from going from 6 days to 41 days is quite an increase. That means it would take you slightly under a week to sell a home in Lone Jack this time last year, but in this quarter 2 of 2025, it took over a month, 41 days, almost a month and a half to sell your home in Lone Jack. So that is a surprising thing that you also need to note that we are going to be talking about in this video as well, because you as a buyer or you as a seller will need to know what to expect. If you're buying in a fast-paced area like Johnson County where homes hit the market and then they're snatched up like that, you're going to need to know that, hey, on average, this home is not going to last on the market. Now, if you're buying, like I said, in Loan Jack, where you have 41 days, I have a lot of people calling me saying, hey, can I just take time to think about this decision? Well, if you're buying in, let's just say, Overland Park, you probably don't have time. But if you're buying in Loan Jack, you definitely do have time to mull it over because there's not that much competition out there. Now, moving on to number 8 is a surprising area that I really didn't think I would see on this list, and that is Parkville, Missouri. When our family relocated from Los Angeles to Kansas City, we moved to an area called Gladstone. We still own our home there. That was the first home that we ever bought, and it will hold a special place in our heart. But what we would do in Gladstone is we would take family trips over to the Parkville side, which is on the western side of the Northland, which we're going to explain where that is in a little bit. Parkville had a great park called English Landing Park that was right along the Missouri River, and we would take walks there all the time. It also has a really cute downtown with mini golf, an area, a really great pizza place called Stone Canyon Pizza. It's one of the most charming areas in the Kansas City metro. And unlike Holt and Lone Jack, which are places that would appeal to somebody who's looking for rural property, you kind of can get a little bit of everything in Parkville. You can get some acreage if you want. You can get some subdivisions if you want in Parkville. That's why I was surprised to see it on this list. But if you love a great school district, Park Hill School District is one of the top rated. You're going to enjoy Parkville, which goes to show you that just because an area is appearing on this list does not necessarily mean that it is an undesirable area to live in the Kansas City metro. There are beautiful parks there. It is close to downtown, but here's what I'll tell you. The average price home in Parkville dropped 6% from $559,000 to $526,000. That is a decrease about 6%. The median price point went from $515,000 to $510,000, so not as drastic of a decrease, but still a decrease. But going back to days on market, Parkville is still moving pretty quickly. You only have about 14 days to pick your home in Parkville, to get your home under contract, because once a home hits the market, on average, it lasts only about 14 days. So keep that in mind. It is a faster moving area than Lone Jack. Now let's move to an area down south, staying in Missouri. Missouri's on a losing streak right now, but staying in the Missouri side of the Kansas City metro, and that is Raymore, Missouri. It's about 30 minutes outside of downtown, directly south of downtown. We've got a beautiful golf course called Creekmore Golf Course, one of the top public golf courses that you can play. I sold a home in Raymore last year, and it took a long time. It took about 45 days to get a contract on that home, and we had to sit through that data and talk through why it was taking so long. One of the hypotheses was that it was taking a long time because we listed it in September after schools had kind of started, and a lot of people do want that Raymore peculiar school district. And so we kind of factored in the fact that probably a lot of people were done with their home buying by that time, and they were all moved in, all ready to go, kind of chosen their home, chosen the place to rent already, and that's why the home was sitting on the market, because the buyers had kind of dried up. And so that's why I was also surprised to see Raymore was on this list, because I was curious to see prior to school starting if that was going to boost Raymore's market, and it doesn't seem to be the case. Raymore is appearing on this list, and the median price point in Raymore went down from $380,000 in quarter 2 of 2024 to $360,000 to quarter 2 of 2025. Now, here's the one thing that I thought would decrease, and that's the days on market. In quarter 2, the homes in Raymore were selling within a week. So even though the prices did go down, they were still only sitting on the market for about a week. So that is much different than my last experience selling a home in Raymore in September of last year. But that is just kind of how it kind of goes sometimes. Real estate is very cyclical, and that's why we compare different quarters, quarter 2 of this year to quarter 2 of last year. And that's why we don't just compare, like January to March of 2025, because we know the weather's starting to get nice, the spring market is starting to hit, and that's why we try to compare apples to apples, the same time this year to the same time last year, and that is what is happening in Raymore. Area number 6 on this list is the city of Kansas City, Missouri, specifically the area of Kansas City that is located in Clay County. Now, that might sound very confusing to you, so let me explain myself. The Kansas City Metro is made up of a bunch of different areas and a bunch of different municipalities. Now, Kansas City, Missouri is the largest municipality that makes up the Kansas City Metro. I live in Kansas City, Missouri. Now, there are many diverse areas within Kansas City, Missouri. It's a population of about 500,000 people that live in Kansas City, Missouri proper. And so one of the things was, when I was first making this list, I was thinking about how do I break up KCMO proper into the specific areas that are so unique to each other. And so the best thing that I thought to do was to come up with, okay, Kansas City, Missouri is located in 3 counties. It's located in Jackson County, which is the most of KCMO. It's located in Platte County, and it's located in Clay County. So I've got these 3 counties, so I'm going to separate them and count them each as a separate area and see where they fall on this list. So if you think that there's a better way to do it, go ahead and drop a comment below. I am open to revising my method, but I think this is a good area to compare apples to apples and try to see what areas of the Kansas City Metro and specifically Kansas City, Missouri proper, what real estate in those areas are doing comparatively year over year. So you've got Platte, you've got Clay, and you've got Jackson, and unfortunately number 6 is Clay County, Kansas City, Missouri, specifically the part that is in Clay County. So Clay County is the area of Kansas City that's in the northeast. We used to live in Clay County, but not in Kansas City proper. We used to live in an area called Gladstone, which is completely annexed by Kansas City, meaning completely surrounded by Kansas City. So no matter what direction you went in Gladstone, you would eventually end up back in Kansas City. It was kind of strange. It's not too far from anything. You've got great schools there. It's got anything that you could particularly want, but unfortunately it does appear on this list of areas that have dropped in value. So it went from $350,000, the median price point of home in Clay County, to $330,000, which is another 6% drop. Now, again, let me reemphasize, just like when I was talking about Parkville, these areas are not bad areas to live. We would have been totally happy living in Clay County and continuing to live in Clay County, but we decided to move to Jackson County, which actually, if you're talking about some of the amenities, some of the tax things that are going on in Jackson County, it's probably a slightly worse area to live than Clay County. We enjoy it here because it's closer to downtown. It's got a lot of fun things to do, but depending on where you are in Clay County, you can actually get in some really nice, beautiful houses. You can get into some areas that have great outdoor activities. You're never too far from shopping. You're not too far from downtown. So it is a great area to live, but again, a 6% drop year over year. Moving on to number 5 is Leavenworth, Kansas. Now, this is the first appearance of a Kansas area on this list. One of the first homes that I had ever sold when I got into real estate was in Leavenworth. And I remember driving up there the 45-minute trip, wondering where the heck was I going and why would anybody want to live so far away from an already small city like Kansas City. Small as in you got to think about where I'm coming from. Small comparatively to Los Angeles where I grew up. I said, look, Kansas City is already small. Why would you want to live further out from a small city? But then I remember getting into Leavenworth and I saw the charming downtown. There's a ton of things to do, places to walk around. There's also a big source of employment, which is the prison up in Leavenworth, the penitentiary. Leavenworth State Penitentiary is up there, and that employs a lot of people and provides a lot of different jobs. And so I began to see Leavenworth as a little bit different. I think it's actually a great place to own a rental. I think it's a great place to own a single family home, but unfortunately real estate has depreciated there in Q2 of 2025 compared to Q2 of 2024. Now, the median price point went from $248,000 in 2024 down to $236,000, which is another about 6% drop. But I will say that homes in Leavenworth are still selling in about 14 days, so that is relatively quickly in an overall kind of down market. I will say that I'm really interested to see the stats in Kansas City in Q3 because just on firsthand experience buying and selling homes, we are seeing more price drops and seller concessions and seller repairs than we have ever seen before in the Kansas City market, at least in the past 5 years. So we can see that Kansas City is slowing down to a more balanced market, not necessarily a seller's market, but more of a balanced market where buyers can get the home that they want, sellers can still sell their home, but it's going to take some time, it's going to take some patience to sell your home. So if you're a seller and you're watching this video and you're wondering, how am I going to get my home sold in Kansas City? The sooner that you can reach out to us, the better, because a lot of these things, what's happening around the metro, not just Leavenworth, not just some of these areas that I'm listing, the days on market is creeping up and up and up and up. The interest rates have not come down and buyer confidence is getting a little bit lower, and so people who might have bought your home in an instant a couple years ago are just waiting a little bit longer to see if they want to actually put in that offer or to see if they can get a deal, right? I currently have a buyer that's looking in an area of Kansas City, and she's thinking about putting in an offer about 95% of list price. We're wanting a $10,000 discount, and that is happening all over the Kansas City metro. So again, if you're either buying or selling a home, 816-4MOVE-KC is our number. We can talk you through all of the different ways that if you're a buyer, we can get you the best deal. And if you're a seller, we can also get you the best deal to sell your home quickly and to get moving. So the number 4 area after Leavenworth is staying in Kansas, moving down to the Johnson and Miami counties, is Spring Hill. Spring Hill is a unique area in that it straddles 2 counties. It straddles Johnson County, which if you don't know Johnson County, or I said earlier in the video, I talked to you a little bit about the counties in the Kansas City metro. So Johnson County is probably, I would say by a lot of metrics, and this is kind of hard to quantify, but by a lot of metrics, one of the more desirable areas in the Kansas City metro. The reason that I say that is homes there typically sell very, very quickly in Johnson County. They typically go over asking price. There's a lot of great schools there for families. There's a lot of great things for single people to do. I've had a couple families retire there to Johnson County as well. There's plenty of new builds that are happening there. So there's a lot of things to do in Johnson County. That contains cities like Overland Park is the biggest one, Leawood, Prairie Village, Lenexa, Shawnee, Mission. All of those areas are located in Johnson County. Now, Spring Hill is straddling that line. It's South Johnson County, and it also bleeds over to Miami County. So with it straddling both lines, there are areas in Spring Hill where a home still will sell very fast, but overall, the trend is that it is trending down just a little bit. It is another about 6% dip in the market. The median price point of a home went from $434,000 to $412,000. That is, again, a 6% dip, which is very common on this list. That number, 5 to 6% of a dip in median price point of home, and it's slowing down a little bit. Whereas last year it was only averaging 6 days on market, which is very, very common for Johnson County. Now it has crept up to 12 days on market. So you have a little bit more time to get your home in Spring Hill, and it has creeped down a little bit. See, Spring Hill is kind of like, it combines the small town charm of like a Lone Jack and a Holt with suburban growth, because you have a lot of builders out there too. You can find your subdivision out there, you can find a new home out there. There's a lot of incentives that new home builders are giving to people who are considering a new home to either buy down your interest rate or to give you a $10,000 discount. Again, give us a call, 816-4MOVE-KC. Whether you're buying resale or you're thinking about building, we can help you both ways. So with that being said, let's move on to number 3. Number 3, moving back to the Missouri side, is Odessa, Missouri. Now the city of Odessa is the furthest out, and I had to contemplate whether or not I was going to actually put this on the list because it's almost not in the Kansas City metro anymore. It's considered almost right outside the Kansas City metro, but I'm going to include it anyway because I've sold a couple homes out there, and I think you're a lot closer to Kansas City than you are to like Columbia, Missouri or something. So you're about 40 minutes from downtown. It's farthest out. It's kind of a more of a family-oriented. It's kind of a tight-knit community with the rural population. And so Odessa is going to be a little bit quieter than a Spring Hill even. It's definitely going to be quieter than Parkville or any of these areas that are closer to the middle of the Kansas City metro. And the drop here is pretty drastic. Now that we're in the top 3, we're getting into some pretty drastic dips. The median home price in Odessa dropped from $336,000 to $285,000, and that was just in quarter 2 of 2024 compared to quarter 2 of 2025. That is a huge decrease. The days on market also increased, meaning buyer demand is not quite there. It went from 14 days on market last year to 24 days on market. So you can see that it is creeping up and homes are sitting for a little bit longer in the Odessa area. Now moving on from Odessa, number 2 is North Kansas City. I want to give you a quick aside and an explanation of what this area is and what this area isn't. If you're new to the Kansas City Metro, I get calls from you all the time of people who are just brand new to Kansas City. You don't know what's north, what's south, what's east, what's west. Okay, so let me break this down for you. If you are on the Missouri side and you are above the river, okay, the Missouri River cuts right through the middle of the Kansas City Metro. If you're on the Missouri side, above the river, in areas like Parkville that we've mentioned before, Clay County, Platte County, Gladstone, Smithville, that area is considered the Northland, okay? So when somebody says, hey, I'm moving up to the Northland, that's the area that they're talking about, okay? Now, North Kansas City is a completely different municipality that is located right across the river on the north side, but there's a lot of industrial stuff there. There's a lot of factories, plants, the trains run right through there, but it's also a very, very cool area to live because it is extremely urban. You have a revitalized downtown, so it has a kind of urban accessibility because you are literally only, maybe 5 minutes from River Market, which is a cool area downtown. And then if you want to go to downtown proper, you're probably 7 minutes away from downtown. And I almost had to exclude this area too because there's just not that many homes that pop up for sale in North Kansas City. If they do go up for sale, they're gone almost like that. And when there's such a small sample size, like last year there was only 10 homes sold in Q2, and this year there were only 15 homes sold in Q2 of 2025. So in comparing the two, I almost left it off because I kind of want to at least reach a threshold of double-digit sales in each quarter for it to be included on this list. But like I said, since it reached the double-digit area threshold, I included it on the list, and so it took a pretty big dip. It's a 20% dip. The median price point went from $357,000 in Q2 of 2024 all the way down to $265,000. That is a 20% dip. That's a pretty big dip. The average price point didn't dip as much, from $335,000 to $320,000, but that's still a good 5 to 6% drop. But still, homes have pretty much flown off the shelves. Only about 4 days on the market, which is the fastest moving in all of this area in all of these areas that do appear on this list. And so you might be asking, hey, why is this area on this list if homes are still flying off the shelves there? I mean, the homes are still scarce there, but the homes that are hitting the market are just not selling for as much as they were in prior years. And that's why we just present you the stats. I would have never guessed areas like Parkville and North Kansas City would be on this list, but here they are. The stats don't lie, the numbers don't lie, and this is why you need to call us and our team, because we do study these numbers and we want to know them by heart so that if you're thinking about making an investment, we can advise you. This is not to say that you should never buy a home in any of these areas. You might find the perfect home where you could stay for 10 years in one of these areas, and I would still say, hey, if you can stay there for 10 years, go ahead and do it. But if you're thinking about buying in these areas and you're thinking about moving next year, I would say rethink that. Don't do it. In fact, don't buy any home if you're thinking about moving next year because you're probably going to lose money. Now, we can give you more tailor-made advice for you if you would just give us a call at 816-4MOVE-KC. If it's not the right time to give us a call yet, then subscribe to our channel and like this video. It really does help out the algorithm and pushes out our videos to other people just like you who need our help buying and selling in Kansas City. Now, before we get to number one, I have honorable mention, and I have an honorable mention list. And what's interesting about this honorable mention list is that all of these areas that I'm going to mention that were just, like 11, 12, and 13 areas that have depreciated are right off this list. They're all located right next to each other. So in number 11 was Pleasant Hill, number 12 was Lee Summit, number 13 was Greenwood. There was basically no growth in the housing market in Q2 of 2025 compared to Q2 of 2024 in all of these areas. And like I said, these are areas that are located in the southeast corner of the Kansas City Metro. They're all grouped right together. I'm not sure why there was no growth because Lee Summit is very desirable, Pleasant Hill is really desirable, Greenwood has a great school district. All of these areas should be growing, but the stats don't lie. They simply aren't. They stayed stagnant. Before I reveal number one, let me tell you this. The average price home in this number one area dropped from $530,000 to $319,000. That's a 40% drop. Okay, the median dropped $100,000 from $407,000 to $304,000. That's a 25% drop. The housing market in quarter 2 at least has completely crashed there. And the only reason I emphasize quarter 2 is because quarter 3 stats might be different. Quarter 1 of last year, if you're interested in that video, you can look it up on our channel. The quarter 1 stats are different. The quarter 2 stats are different. I'm only giving you the most current stats, the most current up-to-date stats, so that you know exactly what's going on in the Kansas City housing market. So without further ado, the number 1 area that has dropped in Kansas City in 1 year is Weston, Missouri. Weston is a historic, rural, small town with a focus kind of more on tourism. The only time that we've been up to Weston, besides me showing houses, were when we went up to the Weston Apple Orchard. I think it's actually closed down now, but we went apple picking for my oldest son's first birthday, so we haven't been up there as a family in probably 3 to 4 years now. But there's a lot of coffee shop, antique shops, festivals that go on during the 4th of July. I know there's a cool pub that's underground in Weston. That's a really cool area to eat, to grab a bite, to grab a drink. But the numbers, again, don't lie. People are not wanting to move to Weston, or at least if they are moving to Weston, they are not they are not overpaying for homes out there. And what I want to leave you with is that there's a huge increase on days on market, on the stat days on market, because last year in quarter 2 there was only 6 days to get a home in Weston. Once it hit the market, only about 6 days until it was gone. The days on market increased from 6 to 40 this year in Weston. That is a dramatic increase and shows a lack of buyer interest in Weston, at least in quarter 2 of 2025. Now, if you're interested in exploring some of these areas, well then click right here and I'll take you on a vlog tour of this area right now.